it's the next level.
She does look shocked to meet the real us, doesn't she? Oh, that's adorable. My thoughts are not available to you, Toots. They never, ever were. So don't go giving yourself a migraine. We've got work to do.
Where are my children?
Where are my children? Oof. That accent really comes and goes, doesn't it?
Where are they?
Oh, your magic's no good here. Didn't you notice? Basic protection spell? One at each wall? No? Nothing? These are runes, Wanda. In a given space, only the witch that casts the runes can use her magic. Why do you not know the fundamentals?
Who are you?
Who are you?
Welcome back to the show, panelers. I'm Mark.
And I'm Damien.
And this week, well, Ben couldn't make it this week, but he will definitely be here for Season 1, Episode 9 of WandaVision. He felt that, well, Damien's here and he could take up some of the role. So now we're covering WandaVision Season 1, Episode 8, Previously On. And the synopsis for this particular episode is Wanda embarks on a troubling journey revisiting her past for insight into her present and future. So, yeah, it's kind of brief, kind of simple as far as the synopsis is concerned, but there is so much involved within this episode. And what were your overall thoughts of the episode, Damien?
Generally, I thought it was good. Certainly the darkest episode we've seen so far. So that keeps me from calling it my favorite, but it was still a good episode.
Yeah.
You know, like aside from Agatha's sarcastic comments, there was really no humor whatsoever in this, which is like such a contrast from last week's episode.
Mm-hmm.
You know, when they were spoofing Modern Family and, you know, we had no Darcy, no Jimmy Woo.
Nope.
We had Vision for a little bit, but he was kind of the early Vision, you know, didn't really provide too much humor there. So, but all that being said, I did like it for what it was. It was like a pivotal episode, kind of telling us, you know, how did we get here and where are we going? So I did enjoy it, but it was dark. Ooh, it was dark.
Yeah, very, very dark. Yeah, I'm sorry to have you come on such a dark episode.
Oh, that's all right. No. I'm happy to be here.
But yeah, my overall, I just enjoyed the episode just like you. It was, and I do admit, it was kind of dark for a Marvel or MCU TV show as it is, but also gave us a lot of insight of Wanda's past that we have not really been getting much of. We really didn't know much more of the experiments that Hydra was doing, how she was able to acquire her abilities, and now we know there was an something underlining like a gene or a mutant gene at that. We'll get into that at a later point. But I was just happy to see more of Agatha within this episode, and we got pretty much backstory within herself, which is pretty much, you know, I didn't get the wonderful "this is Agatha's TV show now" like we left off the last one.
Right.
Which was pretty funny. We got that little montage at the end. I thought we would get the Monsters intro that we were talking about last episode when Ben and I and Greg were covering it. But, you know, in all honesty, I really don't think Agatha is a good therapist, in my opinion.
No, I would agree with that, yes.
All right. So with that, we're going to move on to our top 5 or highlights of the show. So do you have a number 5?
Well, because it can't all be sorrow, can it? I've always been alone, so I don't feel the lack. It's all I've ever known. I've never experienced loss because I've never had a loved one to lose. But what is grief, if not love persevering?
Sure. I'm going to say number 5. I'm going to start off with the opening scene in Salem, Massachusetts, 1693. It's kind of it's the opening scene for the episode. It's the tone setter, really. It starts off with what I thought was a witch burning from the time of the Salem witch trials.
Correct, yeah.
And once they showed the blue energy binding, I realized, oh, they're all witches. And here it's a coven led by Agatha's mother, who I looked up on IMDb, and she's Evanora Harkness. Do you know her from the comic at all?
Yes, there was something briefly in the comics regarding Evanora, I think it is.
That's why I said Evanora. That's how I took it.
So there was something about that regarding her. And I think just like you, it was, to me, it was kind of a reverse of the Salem's witch trials. If you think about it.
Yes.
If you think about it, it's like the coven is going against her, feeling that she's going into these dark arts or this dark magic, or looking for quote unquote chaos magic, that I think that is what they're hinting at, that Wanda has delved into but didn't know it. So, and the fact that we get to see that history of her. And like I said, it was like a reverse Salem's witch trial, because the witches were going against a witch. Whereas before they used to just burn them.
Yeah, like I said, that's what I thought we were seeing. And then, like you said, we get a little bit of Agatha's backstory. You know, like you said, they were charging her with practicing dark magic. They actually said above stealing knowledge above her age and station. That was the exact words of her mom there, practicing the dark magic. So, and then of course we see she's so powerful that she can overpower and kill the entire coven and her mother. Which, again, like I said, this episode, it's the first 5 minutes. That's how dark this episode was. You know, It's just a mass of crumbled witch bodies. And Agatha walks away, you know, smiling like she does. So, we know exactly what we're dealing with there at that point.
Yeah, especially since you do see how manipulative that Agatha is, because help me. And then she just reverses it and says, and then she just absorbs all their powers and abilities. Mm-hmm. And there's one thing in there that was like a little bit of a clue of what we're going to see later on as we continue to talk about this. You saw a blue crown or some sort of headdress on Agatha's mother as she was posting her hex or powers against Agatha. And it kind of reminded me almost similar to, but it was blue, but it reminded me of Wanda. You know, with her Scarlet Witch wardrobe and how she has that headdress, similar to the comic. But we do see something later on regarding that, and a premonition and a flashback that we get. Mm-hmm. But I thought that was pretty cool. I found that interesting. I really enjoyed that. That was actually, I think, my number 3, but we'll move on to that. And I have a ton more notes that we'll jump into as we go forward. So that was your number 5, right?
Yes.
All right. So my number 5, well, the fact that we get to see how Westview came to be, and it was basically all done by Wanda. You know, she never took Vision's body to begin with. Hayward basically flat out lied to everybody saying that Wanda took Vision's body, where in a sense we do get to see her building Vision, and you could see the Mind Stone energy, the color of it, the yellow that created Vision within that world. And on top of that, by doing so, and I'm going to go back, and unfortunately Ben's not here, but I'd love for him to correct me, and he'll probably correct me next week. When Hayworth was tracking Vision inside of Westview, he was tracking vibranium signatures or patterns. That means that Wanda is able to make vibranium.
Oh, wow.
And that is an immense feat in itself. Not only did she create Vision, but she was able to create vibranium, and let alone children. So
wow,
that shows how powerful she is within as a Nexus being. And I thought that was amazing to see on screen. And I'm just curious because at that very ending scene, which we'll get to later on, because we do see another vision come into place.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, but he did, if you think about it, Hayworth did imply to Wanda how she could resurrect. It was kind of like a snide remark, but she took it and she was so upset at that point and runs to her car, and then she sees the deed to the house and then goes to Westview, and you see how terrible it looked. Of all places, this community was terrible looking in New Jersey, unfortunately. And you see the certain areas, you see the movie theater, you see Herb, you see the mailman, you see Vision's boss's wife. You see all these people as she passes them in town, and they're pretty much the real version of what they're supposed to be. And then we finally get to see what Wanda and how she created it, because of her pain just causes that explosion of that power to come through and to create everything that she needs. So that's my number 5.
Well, I'll go into, I guess, my next note, which I had a little further on, but I'll just use it now since you mentioned the Westview. That was one of my notes. So to follow up when Wanda was driving into town and we got to see modern day Westview, and like you mentioned, all the characters that we see in the TV shows, obviously Wanda spots them, and that's probably when she does the change, that's how she incorporates those people into the television shows, because they're the faces that she saw in Westview. So that's how she, I guess, chose to make those characters, I suppose. Either that or, the people making the TV show just decided to point those faces out to us for our sake right there. But so we saw, everybody, the delivery guy, Jones, who was advertising piano lessons, like you said. And the town looked I agree with you, the town was really beat up and sad looking. Yeah. Everything was closed, under construction. The people were like expressionless. And I took it I worded it very unsitcom-like, because per, all the sitcoms we had up here, everybody was peppy and cheery for the most part. I know we had different characters that weren't, but yeah, the town, it kind of needed a facelift. So in a weird way, what Wanda did was a good thing.
Yeah,
right. Did you notice when she sent out her energy and it started changing the town? Did you see the Lagos sign on the side of the building?
Yes, I did.
Well, did we see that earlier? Because I thought in one of your other podcasts you mentioned.
Yeah, we did mention Lagos because yeah, that was something.
Yeah, it makes cleaning a snap, and I thought.
Because Lagos was the town. Yes, that all that happened. Also within that particular event, as we see, because the movie theater.
Yes, was it closed?
No. I'll go into it because I have my side notes here that you have not seen. So basically, Tannhauser Gate is on the marquee of the Coronet Movie Theater, which is the movie theater within that particular town, the Coronet Movie Theater. Okay. So it says Tannhauser Gate, which is something that references to Blade Runner's Roy Batty's speech.
Oh, okay.
And in the film about, basically, if you remember, Rutger Hauer at the very end gives this speech to Harrison Ford's character, Decker. And basically it states, the speech is about a figure cast as a villain, but just wants to live in peace, just like Wanda, if you think about it.
Oh,
so that's a little bit of a minor Easter egg.
Yeah.
And then it changes to Big Red and Kidnapped, which could mean Wanda doing the same thing within that particular town. So she's Big Red, and she's kidnapped all these people within this particular town. So I found it funny because before it said Tannhauser Gate, and that was in modern day, and then it does the whole shift during the Hex, and then you see it changed to Big Red and Kidnapped. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Wow.
So I could be reading way too much into things, but that's what I got out of it.
No, you're very insightful. I've enjoyed since the very beginning all your notes and insights to everything, and most of the time you're right.
There's also a cool thing too that we didn't mention at the very beginning: the Marvel Studios logo going from Wanda's red color, but it morphs into the Agatha's purple.
Yes, I saw that.
Yeah, that was pretty cool, I thought.
Yes. Oh, yeah, for sure.
So we're on to number 4, right?
Yeah, I did my number 4. Yep.
So, of all things, the therapeutic look at Wanda's bad memories and good memories, if you think about it, the way Agatha brings her through, not the best of physicians. She's not a licensed therapist or psychologist in any way, but we see the night the Stark bomb showed up and killed her parents and how she was brought in by Hydra to be tested on. And we see that she and Pietro were the only living test subjects as we know that survived the tests with enhanced outcomes, apparently. And I'm still thinking there's a mutant gene underlying under all that, because even Agatha is confused as to why. She thinks that Wanda's a naturally born witch, like kind of like it's like the unicorn out of anything. It's like it's a witch's unicorn. It's like you shouldn't exist kind of thing. But she does, but she doesn't know how to control them. And the same thing that I have in my head is both Wanda and Pietro survived. So I'm thinking it's more genetic and mutation that was underlying. So she always had these abilities, but they just never came into fruition because she was a child. But when they started to experiment on her with the Mind Stone, it kind of enhanced and created more what was underlying for both of them. Pietro getting speed and her having more power and enhancing what she has. And Agatha is really ticked off if you think about it, because Wanda had no clue about certain like symbols that were on the wall that were hindering her from using her abilities. And she goes, you don't even know, you just do it naturally. It takes years to build up this kind of information to become this kind of a witch. You just do it subconsciously all the way across town. And that shows you how strong that Wanda is. But I think part of it is her mutant ability or enhanced. They haven't really said mutants yet, ladies and gentlemen. Sorry, listeners. So I don't want you guys screaming at me or Ben. But at this point, they have not really introduced mutants into the Marvel Universe or cinematic universe at that. So now we're going to be getting hopefully a little bit more information regarding this in later movies, because how do you explain that both her and Pietro survived and nobody else did? And both came out with big powers. And especially with somebody, and even the scientist said there's something underlying it, which I'm thinking it's got to be a hint or a nod to that.
Yeah, I did not give any thought to Pietro and what would happen to him in the same circumstances with the same experiment. But you're right. They said, when we saw Wanda there, all the other test subjects survived, or didn't survive, rather. She was the only one that had survived at that point. So yeah, you can only assume that Pietro went through with the test, unless they stopped the testing.
Well, then how do you explain his powers,
That's true. Yeah, he must have had the same result, must have gotten enhanced as well. So, yeah, I didn't think that far ahead into it.
All right. So, yeah, that was my fourth. There's just a little thought.
Okay.
Number 3?
So, let's see. I guess talking about Agatha a little bit and her motives. Actually, I just want to start off by saying Catherine Hahn was fantastic in this episode. I mean, she's been good the whole series. But this episode where she played the part, like, in control and yet with that slight bit of desperation, I just thought she kind of nailed it with the given situation that she was going through there. Trying to get something from Wanda, but still showing that she's in complete control of at least that situation. Even though Wanda created the hex, she can't get it. Wanda, can't get into Agatha's mind. So now we know that Agatha has enough power to twist Wanda's pretend reality in hopes of breaking Wanda's delusion so she can figure out how she had the power to create the hex. So I'm thinking Agatha is doing all this. Like, what are her motives? She's doing all this, I guess, to gain, and you might have said this early on, she wanted to gain the same power, I guess, as Wanda has.
I honestly think she's trying to suck Wanda's power or get that power for herself to some degree. Meaning that she is the big bad for the most part in this series right now. I'm sure there's some sort of underlining power that we've been talking about. I mentioned Mephisto, Nightmare, Kang the Conqueror or whoever that might be involved. I'm still on the Mephisto bandwagon or Nightmare bandwagon, but I'm thinking because if we saw Vision start to fall apart coming out of the wall, that one episode, he was literally being torn apart because his life stems on the fact of that hex, of that wall, that boundary, that world that they have. Now, do the kids on the same path or the same thing? That's my question. So I'm curious to see how far her power goes, or if it's just limited to that area or limited within her own world. And I'm sure Ben would say, well, she could create or change the whole world at one point. He mentioned that before. What if it affects the whole world and changes and creates mutants or something to that nature, which would be interesting. But I'm curious because we only have one more episode and they're saying it's only 50 minutes. And I'm curious how they're going to wrap this up to go right into Doctor Strange and the Multiverse of Madness.
Yeah, I don't know. There seems, I mean, this is the beginning of phase 4. So obviously we have a long road ahead.
Actually, it's funny. They said that Spider-Man, Homecoming or whatever it was. Not Homecoming. Far From Home.
Oh, Far From Home.
Yeah, that was the beginning.
Oh, that was the beginning.
They said because it took place after whatever Endgame.
Yeah, gotcha.
But
gotcha. Timeline-wise,
us waiting so long for a new phase at this point is ridiculous. Especially since we haven't gotten a Black Widow movie yet.
Oh, soon, right? May, hopefully.
Hopefully, yeah. I can only hope. Now, you already spoke about, and I'll go into my 3, which I kind of brushed over. We already talked about Agatha's past, her mother. Well, interestingly enough, I kind of went deep diving. If you look at the crown that on Agatha's mother, Evanora, which is the name of the Wicked Witch of the East in The Wizard of Oz.
Oh.
So, but the crown, like I stated, was similar to Wanda's comic version. And to elaborate on that, if you look at Wanda's, the experiments, when the Mind Stone explodes and they didn't see what happened, but you saw it from Wanda's point of view and you saw an image, I think that was Wanda looking at herself in the future of being the Scarlet Witch because she has that kind of, that tiara, that headdress similar to, Agatha's mother, Evanora. And
I kind of had that feeling too when you saw it, and it was real quick. I mean, I watched this several times, and each time I tried to really pay attention to see, if there was any other insight. But you're right, the crown was pretty much the only distinct part that you could really peg. So yeah, I could understand that.
Yeah, that silhouette was a giveaway of Wanda's future, I think. Right. That's just my thought.
Yeah, because who else could it be showing up in the Mind Stone there?
Yep.
The energy. Who knows?
Your number 2?
We talked a little bit about it. I might be able to add a little bit to it. Wanda's past, you touched upon a couple things. Overall thoughts that this was a How Did We Get Here episode. Well, we find out because, we talked about Agatha's backstory, and now we're talking about, we also have Wanda's backstory. We knew a little bit from the movies, and actually this probably just went into a little bit more in depth in those. We see that she used powers to stop the bomb from detonating, which, we were led to believe it was defective in the movies. That was what she thought all along. Until, we just lived through in this episode what really had happened. Now, you don't think she had witch powers from birth, though. You think it's more mutant powers.
I think it was more mutant powers, but I think they were enhanced.
Well, that was when she was a young girl, so I guess it was before the enhancing.
Yeah. I think afterwards they got really enhanced to that point.
Right.
But if you look at Wanda as she was talking about that incident, she had doubts herself. I didn't do that. The bomb was just effective. So she had doubts at that. And Agatha still thinks that, she's that unicorn for the witches. That's that Scarlet Witch. So, but that's why I always been thinking lately since the episode going, what about Pietro?
Yeah, that's in my notes. I have some notes, my secondary notes.
But speaking of that whole bomb reference with Stark, and you see that beeping red light. Well, it kind of references and goes back to episode 1 when they have the Starkmaster 2000 toast maker, and that red light was beeping. So that was an underlying
okay. I forgot
that. That was something that was in the back of her head, a repressed memory. So she was watching that or seeing that commercial, and that was the Toastmaster 2000.
Right. Oh, wow. But, so her, the past of her joyous moments with the family when the tragedy struck. And, like I said, I watched this a couple times. Every time I flinched when the bomb went off. I don't know about you.
Oh, yeah.
I knew it was coming.
I knew it was coming. But...
and I was like, oh, this is a nice moment, but it's coming.
Well, you had to suspend your disbelief, too, because the TV was still playing.
I know.
And she referenced that whole Walnut episode from the Dick Van Dyke Show. So I looked further into it. So the Dick Van Dyke Show episode was It May Look Like a Walnut was the name of it, but it's not the one that they were talking about that they put in on the DVD player. Apparently, continuity for particular episodes or seasons do not work. But within that episode, with a little bit of research, I found out that it was more about alien invaders and a reality rewriting itself, similar to what's going on within WandaVision with the reality rewriting itself. And with the alien invaders, the only thing I could come up with and think about of what's going on with the Skrull invasion that's possibly coming. But that's just my thoughts.
Oh, okay. So I think that was number 2?
Yeah.
We finishing up number 2 then?
Yeah.
Okay. So that's all I had for that.
What about number 1?
Oh, number 1, and we might have the same number 1. I'm not sure. It's I want to talk about the post-credit scene.
Well, the ending scene is what mine is.
Oh, okay. Well, do you want to go first then?
Sure.
Or do it in chronological order?
Yeah. Well, I have a lot to say too about the post-credit scene or the mid-credit scene.
Okay, cool.
But yeah, my number 1 would just be Agatha pointing out that Wanda is the Scarlet Witch. That ending, and the fact that we get to see Agatha in complete costume and holding on to the kids and trying to get at Wanda at that point. Now, the one thing that's missing from this particular episode, we don't see Monica. We do not see Pietro. And
no, we don't.
And I have my thoughts about that because the last time we saw them was in a mid-credit scene where Snooper's gonna snoop and him wearing some weird, knit hat this doesn't really remind me of anything of the Peter Maximoff that we knew from the Fox series, or let alone the Aaron Taylor Johnson version of Quicksilver in the MCU. To me, I'm starting to think with Pietro in this, that rabbit, Scratchy, Mr. Scratchy, every witch has a familiar. And I'm thinking that, and I've said it last week, I'm thinking Pietro could be this familiar, and then she's just utilizing him, and that's why he's so wacky in the way he was with the kids. And she was just using her magic to control it, because she already mentioned, if you look, she changed the bug into a bird and fed it to the bunny. She was able to manipulate that. She can't do necromancy, but she was able to pull something, but she was able to change a bug into a bird. So what's to stop her from changing a bunny to a person?
Yeah, I thought the bunny was going to be somebody as well, especially with also when you said she ended up feeding throw the locust to it, almost feed it there. I don't know. I'm with you. I almost thought that the bunny was... Actually, I thought when you guys last week, or a couple weeks ago, I guess, been talking about Mephisto, I actually was wondering if the bunny was Mephisto at some point.
Also, we don't know who this Ralph character that she keeps talking about.
No, you're right. We never met
We've never seen or heard of this Ralph guy ever since. So it could be Ralph who's the bunny, and it could be Nightmare or Mephisto, or who knows? We don't know.
Yeah, but like you said, Pietro, so she was able to control Pietro. We know now she didn't bring him back, from the dead, because she said, your brother's dead on another continent full of holes. So who is he? Because everyone in town was someone that Wanda, changed.
Wanda had seen.
The hex. Well, Wanda had seen, but they already lived in Westview, so...
Correct.
is he someone who lived in Westview, and then when they casted him, they casted Evan Peters? Is that what I'm saying? Evan Peters, that's who it is, right? Pietro.
Yeah, it's Evan
Did they
Peters
cast
who plays
Evan Peters as Evan Peters as like fan service, or is there something like you mentioned? Is there something else?
I think there's something else that's going on
Yeah, there
there.
has to be, because it doesn't seem like they would just do that.
Yeah, Ben's kind of determined that it's Doctor Strange coming in. He's not here, unfortunately.
I
but,
heard his theories, and I don't know. I don't think that's Doctor Strange. I don't think so. Well, now that we saw the post-credit scene, when we saw what we did in the post-credit scene, I don't know if we'll see Doctor Strange next week.
I believe we will.
Unless it's in a post-credit scene last week. You think we will? Like for a better part of the episode, or just maybe at the very, very end?
Probably at the very, very end.
Very end. Yeah, I could see that.
And if not, definitely within the post-credit scene too. So, yeah, I don't think Strange is going to be a huge part of it. And the big talk of Bettany during his interviews of the person he always wanted to act with would be himself. Because at the very ending, and we're going to go right into this post-credit scene or mid-credit scene now, we get what listeners I've been talking about, what I talked about last week, White Vision. And I talked about this for 2 episodes. White Vision, the thing that was brought together. Now, obviously, Hayworth lied, and they had Vision all along, but he's able to recreate Vision from the drone that they sent in that was from like the 80s or something, and it still had part of Wanda's hex power on it, and that was the energy that they needed to revive this particular Vision that they created. Now, mind you, just like what Ben had stated, this particular Vision is a golem. He's just white, has no emotion, no nothing. He's just a pure robot that they can control. So I'm thinking next episode, it's going to start off where it's a battle where Monica is going to wind up having to battle Pietro because he's somebody bad. Wanda and Wanda's Vision within Westview is going to have to go against this White Vision as well as Agatha. And the kids are involved as well. And then at the very end, we probably will get Strange coming in. And then there's going to be a lot of payback or whatever it is for S.W.O.R.D. for whatever they were doing. Because after all said and done, unless they fly off into the sunset somewhere.
So what's going to happen with the Vision from the Hex?
Like I said, if the Hex is done, then he is done, I think. I think he just falls apart. He cannot exist without that particular Hex. Unless Wanda is able to hex him into the White Vision. That personality. Because I'm going to go into comic stuff right now regarding this White Vision. In issue number 43 of West Coast Avengers, there is a White Vision. And this is when Vision he just wanted no emotional chip, kind of like Data in Star Trek. He didn't want to have all those emotions, didn't want to have that memory of having that life with Wanda or the kids or anything. He wanted to start over and just be a regular robot. And he gets that wish, and he does. He was taken apart and put back together, and he was White Vision, devoid of any personality whatsoever. And then come issue number 45, he comes into play, and he comes back. But I think this is probably like a stepping stone where they could actually say, well, we can bring him back. Because we already have one version of Vision, which is Wanda's memories and thoughts and personality of Vision that she loved, and she could probably hex that into the white version of Vision that we get within that mid-credit scene. So that way, as they're battling, she could just like kind of like a wish, just wish them together to make one. But those are my thoughts.
Yeah, so, the post-credit scene, like I said, that was my number one, and you pretty much talked about, most of it, how Hayward, he lied basically about Wanda stealing the body. You mentioned that and whatnot. Now the drone with Wanda's power, I was wondering if did he just luck into that, or did he go with the intent, launching it with the intent of she was going to stop it and somehow send it back to them?
If you remember the conversation, he goes, well, we needed that sort of power to get it to work. Now we have that power. And
but was that by chance they had that power, or when he launched the missile?
think about
was he
sending
doing that
everybody into that. They sent Monica in
Mm-hmm.
there. She came back out. She came out changed. And I think Hayworth is aware of it.
Yeah.
But also her clothes were changed. So now that they got a little bit, his intent initially, I think, was to get her out and take care of her for whatever they needed to, because they literally all they wanted her for was to do something to that particular robot. It was like a lot of show and tell when it came to getting her pissed off and emotional to leave, because they thought they could get her so riled up that she would want him back, that she would hex him there at the compound at Sword, and it didn't happen. Now she created this whole wall. They have to go in to find out, because now Westview has been taken over. People are hostage. So she's responsible. They're responsible for her because now she's a weapon. And this will go into further later on within the MCU when we get to Falcon and Winter Soldier, because due to the Sokovia Accords, and Hayworth actually mentions it, Vision is a weapon that the government owns, kind of like Cap's shield, kind of like Falcon's wings and gear. Anything like that, like Iron Man suits, they own those. The government owns all of that. Even Tony states it at, I think, during Civil War, during when they wouldn't sign and Cap wouldn't sign it. And that's where we're still at. I hate going back in time and bringing up old MCU stuff, but that is pretty much on the plate, and that's what's going to go forth even still. We're still going to have more of that come back in Ironheart or Iron Wars when those shows come on, because Sword and the government is still in charge of all that stuff because the Sokovia Accords.
Yeah. Wow. Okay.
Yeah, I'm bringing up a lot of information.
No. It's all good. I knew you would have the White Vision answers, and it's a shame Ben's not here because I knew he would have more insight.
He'll
insight
have
as well.
more.
I'm sure he was very, very ecstatic as well.
Yeah.
When we saw both we got the Scarlet Witch reference and also
Finally,
the Vision.
yeah.
Yeah. first time we ever heard
in
it.
the
Right?
MCU. Yep.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Now we will forever know her as the Scarlet Witch.
Yeah.
And we do know that her father is not Magneto.
Oh, okay. All right.
And those parents that we do see were not in the commercials of the show that she created. They were just regular actors, I guess.
Oh, okay.
So that was a nice, interesting outcome out of it too. It's like, oh, this was all still in her mind. But there was a lot of those commercials still bothers me, because like the kid with the yogurt.
Oh yeah.
You know,
what was that about?
I'm still going, what is this about? It's her picking at whatever and not getting answers and stuff. So
yeah, too much.
So that was our thoughts into the mid-credit and and our number ones, I guess.
Mm-hmm.
So,
yep.
But, speaking of her powers and everything, the only notes that I would have regarding that, it's funny because Agatha talks about the dark power, and that's really literally where she gets those, because her mother brings it up in the very beginning. They all are able to tap into the dark dimension power. And just like Dormammu, and Dormammu is in Doctor Strange, the orange glow from the Darkhold, or that book we see in Agatha's basement that obviously Wanda can't get out of because of the hex spell, could be equated to an elder god.
Oh.
It could be the god Cthon, and chaos magic was literally created from Cthon himself. So we've not heard that name in the MCU, but since we know it's not Dormammu, because Dormammu was told by Strange never to come into that world again, and hopefully he was agreeable, but he never really went against Cthon. And if you look at Strange's magic, his is more elegant geometry style. If you look at the images and everything, whereas with Agatha, it's more runic. And Caecilius, who is in Doctor Strange, did the same thing because that was part of the dark magic. And I think one of those runes are on the book that has the orange like magic around it. And we haven't really seen that orange stuff that much. And all we've seen is purple, red, and blue at this point in this series. So I'm curious. But then again, I'm all over the place. Do you have any notes that you want to talk about?
Well, a couple. Just we kind of touched upon, what's going on with Pietro. Honestly, I missed the mid-credit scene last week. I was listening to you guys with Greg, and when you guys mentioned the mid-credit scene, I was like, wait a minute, because that was the first one of the whole season, right? Yeah,
it was.
Yeah, because I was ever since the beginning, I know you let the credits play on, and nothing was ever coming on. So last week, I just didn't, I didn't even think about it, and you guys mentioned that. So, because originally, I watched this episode, and I just thought, oh, Pietro was just somebody from town, that Agatha was controlling. But
yeah, I had that feeling too. At one point.
After that mid-credit scene from last week, okay, he's still around and he's something. I don't know I know you mentioned like he's probably bad and Monica's gonna have to fight him. I don't know. I don't know if he is or not.
My hope is that he is the Fox version of Pietro. And he does work with them. That's my deep gut want. But my feeling is, from what I'm seeing, it's got to be a familiar or whoever Agatha was working with. And those the only other two. Or it could be the missing person on the milk carton.
Oh, gosh. I didn't think about that. Or Ralph. It could be
Ralph. Who knows,
Who knows?
Yeah.
So there was that. We talked about that. I'm sure you paused it or at least noticed, back in Sokovia when she was little, the videos in the case. Did you take note of the videos at all?
No, I only saw was the Dick Van Dyke Show. She had Bewitched. She had...
Yeah, I paused it to look to see, and it was pretty much throughout the whole series, everything we've been saying, like, oh, that's from that. Except for Family Ties. There wasn't Family Ties. There was Who's the Boss? There was I Love Lucy, Bewitched, I Dream of Jeannie, which I didn't think of, at all watching this, but that kind of makes sense with the little magic, magic bottle there. So Who's the Boss? The Addams Family, Malcolm Middle, Dick Van Dyke Show. So yeah, no Family Ties though. But yeah, so we kind of figured, why she was generating those TV shows they were shows she watched when she was little, but they seem to have meant so much more, though, after seeing that scene, which we talked about a little bit. But anyway, I wanted to know if you took note of, of those VHS tapes. But it's pretty much everything, almost show for show. But and there was no Brady Bunch, but we saw her watching the Brady Bunch in the memory of...
with Hydra's cell.
Hydra's cell. That's where we saw the Brady Bunch. So.
And we could also say that Bryan Cranston is canon in the Marvel Cinematic Universe now. Because...
Yes. Yeah, got that too.
Also, the one thing that I liked, and this is one of my notes, is that we actually did get to see Vision and her and how they got involved and were in love. We got to see that because it kind of was glanced over, brushed over, even in Civil War at that point too. When just before she talks about Paprikash. But it's so funny too how Agatha talks about, oh, that accent goes in and out just like that. Something that we all kind of question after I think Infinity War at that point. It's like, what happened to her accent? It just kind of disappeared. Well, we know now to some degree she was putting on an act for the most part, if you think about it. And it was her way of trying to fit in. And, and she had a lot of practice because she watched a lot of TV shows, obviously. So, and it also comes to what I had stated with those TV shows in the very beginning. This was her getaway. This was her idealistic view of American lifestyle. This is what happiness to her meant to be. And then, now we know that's the reason why she watched those shows. It gave her that memory of her family, also gave her the warm feeling of what she got from those shows too, and that's her idealistic view of American society.
Yeah. Yep. Yeah, I think that was all of my notes.
Yeah, that's all I had. I really didn't have much more after that. So, but we can move on to quotes, and I see here that you got a couple.
Yeah, I have a couple, and you mentioned seeing her in Vision at the Avengers compound, and that's where both my quotes actually come from. Like I mentioned early on, this episode didn't have much humor at all, but the tiniest little bit of humor was when Vision was sitting there. You mentioned Bryan Cranston. They were watching Malcolm in the Middle, and the scene fell where whether the what was he building?
It was like a porch.
A porch or something. Yeah. Anyway, all that fell on him and everything. And he turns to her and says, "It is funny because of the grievous injury the man just suffered."
And she was like, "Yeah, that's funny." Yeah. And he goes, "Yeah, I thought it was funny."
Because he's like, "Why is this?" And she's like, "Oh, well, he's not really hurt." So,
yeah.
But yeah, got a little, that second time through, I got a chuckle out of that. First time, I didn't chuckle at all. This thing was dark.
Then you got to realize, okay. Yeah, I kind of got that too, yeah.
Yeah. And then on a more serious note, just like moments later, when he's talking to her about grief and how he doesn't know it. And he's like, "What is grief if not love persevering?" Which I thought was a real special quote there. Yeah, he said he's never experienced loss. So
yeah, exactly.
He doesn't know what love is. But like you mentioned, that was probably you could tell there's just that little bit of I don't want to say magnetism, but there's a little bit of something.
Don't put
something
a
was starting
near him.
a little
He's a robot.
bit. Yeah, right. No, right. But actually, and Infinity War too, a little bit when they were at the compound, talking too. You'd see a little bit of that, but they did glaze over it quite a bit. So it's nice to see that we're getting a little bit of the relationship, but I don't know if it's going to be over after next week. I don't know.
Well, everybody keeps rumoring about this mysterious 10th episode, but who knows what will happen. We'll find out then.
Yeah, it'd be nice if they were just a little longer.
Yeah, exactly. I think it's like, God, we want more.
I know.
All right, well, that was pretty much our coverage for the episode itself, but we got some feedback. So we got some feedback from Facebook from Mike Tropina Jr., and he states, "The new WandaVision episode with Agatha taking Wanda into her past and watching her parents, brother, and Vision die was awesome." Well, I'm glad he enjoyed it.
Yeah, well, it was good. I enjoyed it too on a level. But yeah, it was certainly well, you had to take it for what it was. Like I said, it was kind of like, okay, how'd we get here? Where are we going? And it was dark.
Exactly. Well, there isn't any news that I could look up this week for anything comic book or movie related from adaptations to comics. So we'll just move into our podcast recommendations. So Damien, do you have one?
Oh, I do. I'm a baseball fan, and it's springtime is around the corner. Although we did get a little blast a couple times last week, and it's kind of raw today.
Oh,
actually.
Yeah, it is.
The ESPN Baseball Tonight podcast has just gone to daily podcasts because spring training started last week. So I've been listening to that. It's kind of nice hearing how things are in Florida and just kind of getting ready for this winter to get on out of here and for spring to come. But yeah, I'm a big baseball fan, so I listen to that pretty much. And then entertainment wise, you plug these quite a bit. Field to Screen with our friend Alex, and Run for Your Lives with Daphne and Paik. I really enjoy listening to those as well. They do some good coverage. Alex with the sports movies, and Daphne and Paik with the monster/disaster films. Good times.
Yeah.
Good times. Enjoy listening to them.
Yeah, definitely. Well, with me, since Mr. Ben Beck himself is not here this week, I'll plug some of his. Lost, We Have to Go Back, and you could find that on the Next Level Network. He is continuing his coverage of Lost. I'm not sure exactly where they are. He said they were going into, I think, season 7, but it's amazing how much you could cover, and I think that was the most he said. He said it last week that they covered about one particular show regarding that. Also, his Wilhelm Screen when it comes out. So that's a new podcast, and that's going to be hopefully launching, I'm hoping, within the next week or two. probably after we finish WandaVision, he'll probably launch his first episode. So that'll be great. So check that out. Just go to the Next Level Network. Check out Wilhelm Screen. It could be found on Twitter also, as well as Instagram and Facebook. So just sign up for those to get more information when it does actually come out and show up. We will keep you all notified when that does happen, so you could go out and listen to Ben there. As well as Lost We Have to Go Back, Lost Revisited. So check that out on the Next Level Network. And for all of you people that want to submit any feedback, you just have to go to our Facebook page, which would be facebook.com/panels2pixels. With that, you could just check it out. The page will have an episode image for what we're covering this week. So this coming week, I'll put an image of WandaVision. I believe there's an image that's coming out soon for Snowpiercer, where Steve could be found with Daphne as their coverage continues on Snowpiercer. And then I will eventually end up on that when WandaVision ends. So I'll give my ideas and thoughts, or maybe I'll just let them continue doing it amongst themselves and just send in some audio feedback, which would be great. But you could just go to the Facebook page, go to Panels to Pixels, and then you could just check out the image that's there for the particular podcast image for WandaVision or Snowpiercer. Just put your comments below that and they'll be read. If you want to, you could always feel free to send us an email at panels2pixels1@gmail.com. That's panels, and 2 is spelled out TO, pixels 1, the number 1 @gmail.com. All you have to do is just send us a regular email, or you could do what Steve likes to do on other podcasts, is just record your voice, send that voice recording as an attachment, and they'll play it, and we'll play it as well, too. So send that to here, and you could hear us on Spotify, Google Play, and Apple Podcasts right now. So if you have a friend, word of mouth always gets people to listen to us. So it's great if you could just spread the word about Panels to Pixels podcast. We could also be found on YouTube. So you could just search for us on YouTube under Panels to Pixels podcast while you're there. If you like the episode that you're listening to and it's on YouTube, just give us a thumbs up. And if you really like the content and that's how you are listening, just subscribe and you'll be notified when the new episode has come up. You always get that little ringy dingy bell that comes up when a new episode comes up on YouTube. So it's awesome. So next week we will be covering or continuing our coverage with WandaVision. Unfortunately, it's episode 9, which is supposedly the last episode. So episode 9, season 1 of WandaVision. So Ben will be back. If you have any feedback to leave regarding, or if you just miss Ben that much, just send them in the feedback page and we'll read them out loud. I'm sure he'll love it if you guys said something. It'd be great. So where else can listeners hear us? Damien, do you have anything to offer? Have you been on another podcast before, or?
I was actually on an episode of Field to Screen, Alex's podcast, which I mentioned. We did Moneyball early on. It might have been his second or third episode, I think. So yeah, that was my first guesting spot. So other than that, I'm just starting to make my rounds on the guest circuit, and I actually have my own podcast in the works. It's a 80s movies podcast and getting some television as well. It's called Watched It in the 80s podcast. I do have some social media set up, but it's not quite live yet, so I'm not going to share it this time. Okay. Or email for that matter. But you know, we're in the early to mid stages of setup, but hopefully we'll be launching here in the next couple weeks or month or so.
Awesome.
Yep.
Cool. So check out Damien. He was on Field to Screen with Alex. So check out that episode, and we'll keep you guys updated on his podcast when it's available. So with that, you could find me right here on Panels to Pixels on the Next Level Network, doing what I do every week, as well as sending feedback when I can to my friends who do podcasts themselves, just like Run for Your Lives or Strange Indeed or Podcastica. I love doing that at times. It's fun just to send it out and get my voice out there, just to hear what they thought of my thoughts on the episodes that they cover. You could also hear me on Adrenaline Cinema podcast on the Pirate Core Entertainment Network. And with that particular podcast, we cover all action, suspense, thriller, and adventure films. So I just released, literally before Damien and I got on to record, Ben and I had covered The Rock from 1996 with Sean Connery and Nicolas Cage. So you could go there and listen to that now if you like, and you could hear both Ben and I give our odd versions of Sean Connery's accent as we quote him. It was fun. It was fun to do.
Not bad.
So, but check me out there, and you could always just subscribe to that. That has a Facebook page as well, and that's Adrenaline Cinema Podcast, and that's on Facebook as well. And we will keep you up to date just as much as we do here, there, on what's going on Panels to Pixels. So, catch me on both. So with that, I just want to thank everyone for listening. I'm Mark.
And I'm Damien.
And this was Panels to Pixels, and we'll see you on the next panel. Thank you, everybody, for listening. Good night.